those of you who don't know, I'm Rachel and this is Becky, and we're Maria's daughters, and we considered Fred our stepfather.
So, we're both terrible public speakers, so we just wrote everything down, and I'm going to read straight from the paper. So, Rachel and I have decided to make a list of all the things that were our favorite things about Fred. There are so many.
Okay, some of the stuff that I'm going to be saying, I just have a quick story for each of the sections. Can you all hear me? Closer? Is that better? Okay. Fred had an ability to have very good conversation. He really made me think. I was always amazed by how much knowledge he had. He encouraged me to think through things. One time I was sitting in my mom's TV room, and we were sitting on the floor together, and Fred came in and had said something. And after he left, I said, "Mom, what did he mean by that?" And my mom said, "I don't know." But she did laugh.
As you all probably know, Fred had a thirst for knowledge and was an avid reader. His book collection started overflowing on Alden Avenue a long time ago. I loved how voraciously Fred devoured books, and I loved that I could ask him any question under the sun about most any topic, and he would usually know the answer.
Okay. Fred was incredibly understanding. So as you know, my mom and Fred would go to the Cape. I don't know, it was 20 years now, or the past 20 years together. And there were times that my husband and kids and I would go and stay with them. And one time we stayed at this cottage right next to them. And for some reason I was terrified of this cottage. And it was in this area where there were a lot of shipwrecks. So supposedly, I'm sorry kids, I'll explain this to you later. Supposedly there are a lot of ghosts around, and so this cottage really frightened me. So when I talked to Fred about it, well, here, I'll start. Keep that in mind. When I was afraid of the Cape Cod cottage, he took me so seriously, telling me maybe I had this capacity of connecting with people on a different level, meaning connecting with people who have passed on. If this is true, then that would be great, because then maybe I could see him again or would know if he was around. I hope he is with us right now.
I loved how well and carefully Fred cared for my mom, the house, and the garden on Alden Avenue. He helped to maintain the beauty of the house that I grew up in that had been his home for 20 years. I have such fond memories of tending to his vegetables and splitting wood in the yard for the wood stove.
Fred always made me feel so special, often telling my mom how he loved my energy and how I can light up a room. I hope that was a good thing. And he always seemed so interested in what I had to say.
One of my favorite memories of Fred was when he used to sing in the shower. For those of you that didn't know, Fred had a lovely singing voice. He would often croon an aria, "Mom and Fred Love the Opera," or some other sweet love song.
I love how Fred was able to be emotional and that he was always there waiting to get his hugs when Emma Riley and I would leave. So this is a quick story. On Wednesdays during the summer, Emma Riley would spend the full day on Wednesday with my mom and Fred. And then during the school year, my mom picks them up after school, and then I always pick them up after, and we all have dinner together. And after dinner, and after our visit, we'd all gather in the hallway, Fred, Mom, Emma Riley, and I, and we would just pass out hugs.
I have such fond memories of Fred telling stories or reciting poetry or expressing his thoughts on some philosophical topic at the dinner table at family events like Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving, or even just Sunday dinner on Alden Avenue. As some of you may know, Fred used to be a minister, and he was fantastic at projecting his voice. A few times I had to ask him to talk more quietly because he would get so passionate about a subject that he would start yelling. I will miss those stories and thoughts by Fred during those events.
I loved how much Fred and my mom loved each other. This is really important, what I'm going to say. I'm trying to get it out. Mom feels so loved by Fred that it is actually helping her get through all of this suffering of losing him. And that is a blessing. I am so comforted knowing that I was able to tell Fred I loved him. And I'm just going to tell one more quick story. A couple days before Fred passed, I was able to look in his eyes and tell him I loved him. And he was a good man. And I'm so glad I was able to do that.
I marveled at how much Fred loved our mom. Fred and Mom served as a model couple for me. I will strive to have a partnership like Mom and Fred for the rest of my life. And I loved Fred and will miss him very much.
We love you, Fred, and we will miss you very much.